Welcome to the Cumbria Chamber podcast. I'm joined today by one of our members, Martha Wood from Martha Wood Marketing. Welcome to the podcast, Martha.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, the topic of our conversation today is all about social media marketing and best practices and tips for businesses who are looking to improve in that area. But before we start, Martha, can you just explain how you first got involved in marketing and what inspired you to go into that field?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of haven't really had like a typical career path as such. I didn't go to university. Everything that I've kind of learned has either been through work or like self-taught or courses and things like that. But I very much, the first kind of taste that I got of marketing was when I was in a business development role. And so I was kind of predominantly there for sales, but their marketing was so poor that it was really, really like the marketing almost comes hand in hand with sales. And so I was kind of the inquiries that I'd get through, people wanted a bit more information, or they just weren't like super happy with the things that were available online and all that kind of stuff. So I took it upon myself in that role really to start improving some of the marketing for that business. And so that was kind of my first taste of it, and found that I really had a bit of a knack for it. Lots of people commented on how great it was. And so I learned more and more in that role about how marketing and sales kind of work together, which is obviously a really important connection as well. And then from there kind of went on to another sort of marketing business development role as well, kind of hand in hand for a small business. And just yeah, through kind of working in these different fields, I guess, and learning through doing for small businesses has really given me a huge understanding of like the day-to-day role that marketing plays for businesses of all sizes, but particularly the impact that it can have for small businesses as well. So yeah, so working kind of in the field has definitely given me lots of experience in that side of things, and then kind of learning on the side as well.
And how long ago did you decide to start your own marketing agency?
So I've been doing my own freelance marketing now for 2 years. So just kind of hit the 2 year anniversary. And that's after like 10 years of business development and marketing experience, kind of working for other people. And so, yeah, I kind of got to a point where it was like, oh, the next level is probably to go on to like manage a team of marketers. And like, I really enjoy doing the actual day to day undertaking of marketing, and so that for me was kind of like moving away from doing that day-to-day role to then managing people. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's for me. So I decided to kind of start off on my own. That was kind of the other option at the time really. And the first year was very much like, oh, I can do all of these different things, so I'm just going to put out all the different areas of marketing that I feel confident with and see where the demand lies really. And a lot of that, as you'll know, is social media, social media marketing and websites, which I don't do, but websites very important. Yeah, I think most businesses are kind of looking at those things now. So yeah, social media plays such a huge role nowadays in marketing that it's been an area that I've really enjoyed kind of working on lots of different projects with.
Definitely. Yeah, social media is a really important tool for businesses these days. And, it can be quite daunting for some people. It's a very busy digital world out there. There are many different tools and types of content to get your head around. And yeah, it can be a bit daunting. So what would you say are, the key elements of a successful social media marketing strategy? What are like the 4 or 5 key things a business has to get right?
Well, I think first of all, so you said strategy. A lot of people don't have a strategy and just kind of go for the whole like post as things come up, post a bit of news, post a bit of this, post a bit of that, and kind of hope for the best and see what sticks, which is one way of doing it. But I would always say to start with outlining a strategy. So look at your kind of overall business goals and aims and what it is that you're trying to achieve, both in the short term and the long term, and think about kind of what community you want to create on there. It's not just about promoting yourself and your business, it's also about showing people who you are as a business, what your values are, what you give back to the community, and using your profiles for good. For some people, that'll be making people laugh, like the memes and reels now are on the rise, and education content and entertainment content are both like kind of merging together now. And yeah, just really trying to kind of hone in on what it is that you actually want to achieve, but then also looking at who your target audience is, what channels they're going to be on. So there's so many different channels to use now. I get loads of people say, do I need to be on TikTok? And it's not a platform that everyone needs to be on, same as Facebook and Instagram. It's about kind of really thinking about who you're trying to target with your marketing, what channels they're most likely to be on. So for some people that might be Pinterest, it might be TikTok, it might be Twitter or X. So yeah, kind of I think taking the time at the beginning to really plan and think about what it is that you want to achieve will really help to build that success in the long run.
So when you're planning, you've got your kind of strategy, you've got your customer profiles kind of all ironed out. When you come to kind of put that into practice, how do you do that? Is it with sort of like a content calendar? How do you actually do the work?
Yeah, so I have a content calendar. I actually have a freebie that people can download from my website as well. So if people are wanting to kind of get a bit more organised, that's there as a tool for people to use. But it's just basically set up in a spreadsheet. And depending on what type of business it is, I kind of look at the year as a whole, really. So if there's like seasonal events or like monthly events that you have coming up, kind of start with that, put in the dates of when they kind of need promoting and look at those kind of in advance. Then look at there tends to be like 4 common content pillars. So you've got the kind of typical like products and services promotion and events. You've got brand building, which is kind of more in line with like speaking about who you are as a company and the values that you have. Community content, which is things like valuable posts. So this might be kind of educational posts. It might be like a how-to or something that just helps to give value to people. You want to kind of balance your calendar out so that it's not all promotion, but then on the other hand, you don't need it all to kind of be brand building either. So I think by having a look at it as like a yearly overview, but then also a monthly overview, really helps you to kind of plan that in. And if you've kind of got gaps in there, it's thinking maybe about like national days that you could jump on as well that are kind of in line with what you're trying to achieve. And yeah, I think that's probably the best place to start. I also, part of the strategy, tend to do some competitor research as well. And I think it's really important. So you can kind of have a look at who it is that you're coming up against in a digital space, as well as like who you might think your competitors are. But if you, for example, Google the same kind of, so if I Google like marketing companies in Kendal or marketing companies in Cumbria and see who it is that's kind of coming up at the top, I would kind of list those as like key competitors rather than who I might think like, oh, I know that Jodie down the road does this. But you're able to kind of then have a look and see what kind of things they're doing online, what kind of things are working, what isn't working, what platforms they're using as well. So you can see whether maybe there's a gap in the market. So they might not have moved to TikTok yet, and that might be a really key audience for them. And for you kind of joint target audiences, I guess. And so having a look at that really helps too. Yeah. There's so much to cover. It's amazing.
It's huge, isn't it? Just kind of going back to, you talked about the 4 pillars of content. I think that's a really useful way of thinking about it. And yeah, not just selling and marketing your products all the time. That's going to really help you sort of grow your reach. The content scheduler tool we use kind of gives you the option to have like evergreen content saved on the platform. So when, if there's a specific post about a service, we can just find that template and just fire it out. They don't have to be different every time. So are there any other sort of like time-saving tricks that you'd recommend? Like what sort of schedulers do you use?
So I have used quite a few over kind of my career in marketing, I guess. And when I first went freelance, I was using Buffer. But I just found like the more clients that I was getting, they kind of charge you per channel, and it was racking up huge bills because I wanted to kind of encourage my clients to utilize like Google My Business and that kind of thing as well. And so I was looking at other options that were out there. I was finding just a few glitches with Buffer, and it just wasn't quite kind of hitting the mark. And I came across one called Metricool, which is a scheduling tool, but then it also has like a really good capability for reporting and analytics. And so that for me saves a huge amount of time, because I can kind of generate an automated report based on the different things that I put in and the different objectives that my clients have at the start, which can be kind of updated and changed over time. But I can generate these automated reports and kind of draw findings from them really quickly. So that really, really helps. But then also with Metricool, you have what's called like an auto list. So you can populate that with like recurring content themes. So for example, if you want to share a testimonial once a month, you can kind of batch create a whole batch of kind of testimonial posts and content. And then you can have those going out as like an automatic thing, depending on what like the different times that you want them to go out and days. So that's really helpful. I think also just having a scheduling tool helps, because you're not having to go onto each different platform to post each different type of content and kind of tweak it there. You can switch between them, so you can optimize your content for Facebook, so you can add a link in there. On Instagram, you can kind of take it out and change your call to action. You can add your location and all that kind of thing. So it just helps to make things a lot easier. In terms of kind of time saving things, I know that there's probably a big question mark over AI in marketing. And I think it's one of those things that you can use it as a really good starting point. So I would say from a time saving perspective and an efficiency perspective, it's really hard to have a super creative brain all the time. And so if you're, as a business owner, if you've got a half an hour window of time and you want to try and write as much content as you can, I would say using an AI tool such as ChatGPT, or Metricool has a built-in one as well, you can use that almost as a starting point to generate some ideas from for your captions, and then tweak it so that it's more in line with your brand voice and what it is that you're trying to get across. I know that not everybody likes that thought, but I think what I'm trying to say is use it as a starting point rather than like as a copy and paste end result. But it does help with that creative process, I would say.
It definitely does. But I think the human element is still so important on social media, isn't it? And
massively.
I think that's one of the trends that we're going to see more of. Big brands are maybe recognizing that sort of individual influencers are getting more attention sometimes than them. What are your thoughts on that in terms of kind of human content, and will brands in the future be making their employees into like superstars, basically?
Yeah, I think you can kind of already see it happening a little bit with LinkedIn, where you have the kind of employees as more of like advocates for businesses now, and Outward Bound are actually a really, really good example of this. A lot of their freelance and like paid staff are sharing like content of the experiences that they're offering, and that's linking back in with Outward Bound's like business pages and things. And I think there's definitely a huge space for that. And yeah, I think in terms of like using AI on a regular basis to write your content, I wouldn't advise it. I think it's one of those things that like it's in terms of like maybe if you're promoting an event and you need to get all of the details in there and you just want a kind of a bit of a template to go from, I think it's great. But in terms of actually content that's performing well, it's definitely down to those kind of more personal storytelling type posts, which are just much more engaging, much more human, like you say. And I think because more and more people are aware, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can smell like an AI copy and paste post like from a mile away. And so it's very much about kind of, yeah, you can utilize it for good, but then just, yeah, don't take it too far.
Yeah, definitely. Because yeah, some of the best content I see on social media is so human. And like, I don't know if you follow Monzo Bank on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Amazing. Their whole strategy seems to be just all about like entertaining people. And they kind of quite rarely post about their services, but it probably does so well when they do. And they've obviously kind of thought about it and thought like, okay, one of our customer segments or our key customer segment is like young professionals, people that work in offices. And then they've found that niche and found a way of talking about things that these people understand and will find like personal in a way. I think that's so clever. Just, yeah, talking about funny things that happen at work it does so well. I always see they have just like tens of thousands of likes and comments.
Yeah, it's kind of so there's quite a few reports that have come out recently from Metrical do quite a few and Social Sprout as well. And the phrase edutainment content, so it's like a combination of education and entertainment, and that seems to be the content at the moment that is most favored by viewers, by like everybody across the board, no matter what kind of industry you're in. And I think that that really speaks to that human side of it. You know, when you're thinking about your target audience, you're actually thinking, okay, there might be, you know, a male professional in their 40s, but at the end of the day, everybody's human. Everybody loves a laugh. Like, it's one of the best ways to get across your point, isn't it? When you can do it with either a little bit of humour or just in a relatable way. I don't know if you've seen all of the ones where it's like Gen Z wrote my marketing script, the videos that are going around on TikTok and Instagram now. And it's just
Yeah,
brilliant. Like it's like the people jumping on a trend, but then
yeah.
it's like informative because you're getting to see the business. It's hilarious. Like it just ticks all of the boxes. That's a really good example of this kind of edutainment. It sounds really weird saying it, but edutainment content.
Sure. One of the podcasts that I listened to is The Rest is History, and they posted a video, and it was like, we let our Gen Z video editor edit this video, and it was just a really funny video of them, like, you know, when you're talking, and there'll be like a lot of like and ah and like sounds like that. They've just cut all them into, and it's really like, you know, not taking themselves seriously, and very just like, it just shows them as, yeah, not just having a laugh, and able to laugh at themselves.
Yeah. Well, they say, don't they, you know, with brand building, it's all about kind of being relatable to your customer. And so, yeah, what's more kind of relatable than just taking the mick out of yourself?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It comes across as genuine.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really interesting. What do you think about, you know, in terms of what could, because that voice that Monzo does is like a kind of something that's not been done before, really. It's like sort of thing, you're in a sort of corporate environment where things are quite formal and quite serious, but then everyone has these sort of things that they laugh at, you know, and it's about sort of taking that idea and making it, you know, associating it with the brand, which is something that a brand wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
What other kind of like voices could be out there that have not yet been done yet? I always think that there could be a opportunity for like a kind of Cumbrian voice on social media. Maybe somebody already does this and I don't know, but somebody that, you know, is riffing on things from a very Cumbrian perspective, and has that kind of angle on things. I bet there's like so much you could do with that.
There's definitely some on Yorkshire. So I'm from Yorkshire, if you can't tell by
Oh,
my accent.
yeah, yeah,
But there's some really, really good ones of
yeah,
like the Yorkshire accent and like different sayings for the area and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of, again, it's kind of raising that awareness, isn't it? You can imagine like Lake District National Park doing things like that, and it just being kind of raising awareness for like the rural communities and the history here and that kind of thing. So it's just, yeah, I think it's really important to try and kind of think outside the box with stuff like that. So I do some work. One of my clients is a local scrap store, and I was kind of joking with one of the ladies there that because we'd had a 1-star review on Google, and it was somebody who put just a load of old rubbish. And the whole point of their like charity, their non-for-profit, is that they take people's like things that they don't want anymore. So it might be donations from businesses, donations from like local people, and it's not rubbish. Like it might be to them, but it's actually in perfectly good condition and it's great. And they resell that at a fraction of the cost. So they have this huge scrap store full of stuff for like crafting and DIY and all sorts. It's amazing. And so I was kind of joking with her. I was like, I think we should do a post, you know, where we kind of put that out and we're like, yeah, that's the whole point. Like, you're getting it, but why have you only given us 1 star? Because this is the best bit about what we do. And so I put that out the other day, and it's had like an incredible response to that. And so I think it just kind of shows, doesn't it? Like trying to take those like maybe pain points or the things that you kind of laugh about a little bit behind the scenes, but you see maybe seen as like, oh, it'd be unprofessional to do that. But actually, it's not. It's kind of been brave and trying to take those opportunities to show the world really what you're about, and that everybody might not get that, but that's okay because your audience will.
Sure. Yeah. Um, what about influencers? How can brands collaborate with influencers? Is it really expensive to do?
I think it varies on the level of kind of, I think with influencers, so they obviously take a huge amount of time to build accounts and followings and loyal
Mm.
followers who are they're speaking to their like our own unique target audience really. And so I think in some ways it's actually a really, really clever way to market yourself in front of people who are within your core target audience, and doing it in a way like with influencers. I think a lot of people, the majority of people that I've worked with, will only ever work and collaborate with brands who they actually are invested in and who kind of align with their values as well. And so, and that's really important because it's building their credibility. They don't want to be recommending something that they aren't invested in or don't care about. But if you have like an outdoor influencer who's, working on a collaboration with like a sportswear brand or an outdoor wear brand or something that they actually wear and they love and they use it a lot, and they might have a following of like, yeah, 20,000 plus, it's, somebody's kind of speaking directly to your target audience then. And it's somebody that those people already like and trust because they're following them. So I definitely think it's a valuable asset still. I think it's important to find the right person for sure, or the right people for sure. And you can kind of work with like nano influencers, they're called, where it's kind of smaller accounts, but they have really invested followers as well. So I think if you're a brand that's looking to work with an influencer, influencers should do this as well, but make sure that you're asking for their like engagement rates, what their demographic of their followers is, and just always kind of hone back to that, like, who is it that I want to speak to and what is the purpose of us doing this? And I think that's probably that would be my advice for kind of going about, yeah, those influencer kind of collaborations.
Is there a website you can go to where you can like find an influencer that would be relevant to you?
I'm sure there is, but one of the
Okay.
ways to do it is just by like just going on the channel, so on
Yeah,
Instagram, and you can kind of you can look at those accounts and look at those people and kind of reach out that way.
they would be kind of within your sort of space anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of the time, like I know there's tons in the lakes that work with kind of all different brands and different people who have kind of different agendas. Some are kind of very much on like a mental health path, others are, more of like the travel brand kind of thing. And actually kind of going and having a look at those, I think is a really good way to, and follow them for a little bit, see what kind of things they post and see if it resonates with you and if you think it'll resonate with your audience. I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
So just one final question to finish off, Martha. This is a huge area and it's growing all the time. There's so much to learn. But if there was one thing that you'd want somebody to take away from this conversation today about social media marketing, what would it be?
I think just trying to think about your social media as part of like your overarching strategy. So I think sometimes people kind of see social media as just something they should be doing and not really think about the purpose for it. And I think by having a look at the overarching strategy of your marketing and where your social media kind of sits within that will help you the most. Don't be afraid to kind of try new things and see how it goes and measure everything that you do. Use the analytics to your advantage as well to have a look and see what is working, what isn't working, are things working towards your goals. And yeah, I think that would probably be my biggest piece of advice, is just remember the purpose of why you're doing it. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time today. And we will post a link to Martha's website in the description. And yeah, thanks for such an interesting conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
No worries. All right. See you later.